just preparing for my medical. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
In a world where people are forced to take vaccinations while others are locked in prison for consuming a dried flower, the age-old battle over the legalization of marijuana has never seemed more urgent than it does today.
There's no question that making marijuana legal, taxing it, controlling it, regulating it, trying to keep kids out of trouble with it would be beneficial in all sorts of ways. And one of the biggest, of course, would be the economic consequences. And look at the way Governor Schwarzenegger in early 2009 said it's time for a debate on legalizing marijuana. And one of his major reasons for saying that was that the state's facing an overwhelming budget deficit. His commissioner of revenue is saying that making it legal could bring in $1 billion to $1.3 billion each year, never mind the hundreds of millions that might be saved by no longer enforcing marijuana laws. So take that California effect and multiply it around the rest of the country, and what you're talking about is bringing in, if you were to make marijuana legal around the country, you're talking about bringing in 5, 10, or maybe even more $1 billion per year, and at the same time saving perhaps a comparable amount in law enforcement costs that are spent enforcing a failed and ineffective marijuana prohibition policy. So dollar for dollar, this is a tremendous benefit for at least the legitimate economy in the United States.
As the summer of 2009 approached, the economy just seemed to be getting worse and worse. In California, the government started cutting back on education, and state employees were getting paid with IOUs. But many citizens of this massive mixing pot all shared one thing in common. They loved marijuana so much they were willing to fight the government, while most of the country just sat back and watched.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by the Department of Homeland Security. We want you to give up your individuality and follow exactly what we say immediately, or Al-Qaeda is going to get you and your little babies. Now, the government needs unlimited power to keep you safe, and we insist that you immediately report to your local Homeland Security, Library Watch Association, and your Neighborhood Watch Association, and report on everything that everybody's doing, or you're not going to be safe. And if you know of anybody that's even touched one of them marijuana cigarettes, you let them know that they're going to go to a forced labor camp, because we're not putting up with Al-Qaeda, and drug use supports Al-Qaeda. Aren't you sick of that type of mindless propaganda? When it's this government, the illegitimate areas of this government that ship in the drugs? Everybody knows that. They've been caught many times doing it. But still, they get in our face and talk about how they're going to take our rights away to get the drugs off the streets. And there's more drugs than ever on our streets. No, my friends, it's about getting you in one of their private, run-for-profit prisons. That's what it's all about. It's about getting you to give up your liberty in exchange for security. But history proves one thing. When you give up liberty, you get tyranny, not security.
You two-bit heroes, making life miserable for innocent children. Why don't you go out and hunt real criminals?
We got a tip on this drag race. But when we found the marijuana, well, sir, that's a very serious charge.
You can help our country, federal government, DEA, and everything, by legalizing it so that you can make money, so we can have people to go to you to buy from you. You can give us out from the red into the black.
To many of the critics, marijuana for medical use is nothing less than a thinly veiled scheme to legalize it for recreational use. But most everyone at this point agrees that sick and dying people should be allowed marijuana. But what about the massive percentage of those who use it but are not on the brink of death?
The number of clinics, co-ops, and marijuana stores in California has exploded. Los Angeles has nearly 1,000, more of them than Starbucks outlets. While many are legitimate, police say hundreds are not.
I didn't know you were a weedhead, Tony.
All my friends are.
Who are the average users of medical marijuana? And how are non-terminally ill smokers any different than the common recreational user?
Nice.
Now that LA had over 1,000 dispensaries, why would a pot smoker ever need to go to a place like Amsterdam? Would the city of Los Angeles allow so many dispensaries to continue to exist? And who are the people behind this blossoming billion-dollar industry that could sweep the nation depending on how the California experiment turns out?
That smile on a patient's face when they realize that they can use something safe legally instead of having to depend on big pharma, as we say, either liver toxic or addictive narcotics for their pain in particular. That smile is worth as much as the money I make. And frankly, I'm not making much money right now.
Marijuana pouring in from Latin America through Mexico into the United States is covered in pesticides and paraquat. It's all been bunched together, crammed into bricks, losing most of its true medicinal attributes that it has. Imagine if California and other states are simply left alone and allowed to bring the cultivation of hemp up to a high art form. Imagine what that can do for our country that's in so much financial trouble. And imagine what that'll do to the greedy drug cartels right now that still control much of the trade. Only marijuana prohibition has allowed that to happen.
Known for being one of the most liberal places in the entire United States, West Hollywood is a mecca of dispensaries. But with all the choices, a pot-smoking novice could easily end up at an unreputable place. Maybe it's me, but if you're going to go through all the legalities just to get high, you might as well get the best stuff at the best price from the most knowledgeable person you can.
Hi, my name's Don Duncan. I'm with the Los Angeles Patients and Caregivers Group in West Hollywood. And you're visiting our collective today. The impacts of the medicine are very subtle and changeable and very subjective. And so patients have to try medicine and see what works for them.
Yes, you're legal now. Is the legal system perfect? No. Do you want to test and see how perfect it is? I don't. I'll just as soon not even test it.
Although Southern California seemed to be the tip of the spear, I thought our story should start where the story of original California green bud started. So I was lucky enough to hook up with a legitimate grower who, after driving me 5 hours north of the Sacramento airport, used the insane driving skills he'd learned from the Baja 500 on the 2-hour hairpin drive down winding dirt roads on what was the most dense plush forest I had ever visited. Known to many as the Emerald Triangle, Humboldt and Mendocino County are to marijuana what Napa and Sonoma are to grapes and wine. I was taken to a ranch that has specialized in growing only one type of marijuana for over 3 decades. More than just a strain, but a brand, the growers of Pineapple Kush adhere to a strict regimen in order to produce a consistent product worthy of commercial product branding. Pineapple Kush is grown 100% organic using only sunlight and is grown on the steep sides of mountains in order to replicate the exact conditions of the mother strain from Afghanistan.
We had the revolution against the Vietnam War, and the generation at that time, they fled north. They fled north up into the mountains to grow their own food and to live a peaceful life.
Back in the 60s, many hippies migrated north from the San Francisco area up to the Emerald Triangle in order to escape the Vietnam War draft. It wasn't long before they realized that their marijuana grew amazingly well in the sunny mountain climate, but the weed was weak. So legend has it that some Berkeley students realized that the powerful THC-producing hash plant cousin that grew naturally in Afghanistan could grow even better right in California.
We would need to get the hash plant, the plant that grows the hashish, and that was derived the best hashish from Afghanistan. So when you turn the globe to the other side of the world at the 38th parallel, and you follow that line all the way across from the northernmost region of Afghanistan, you hit the Emerald Triangle in California.
Now, over 30 years later, the children of those hippies have basically transformed the entire region into a vast wonderland, hundreds and hundreds of square miles of nothing but high-end marijuana cultivation. A tough pill to swallow for many of the old-timer residents.
So this is the story, and this is why, as throughout Europe, even in Amsterdam, wherever you go, the California green bud, the pure Kush, is the best in the world.
Back down south in Orange County, a vendor and dispensary manager signed the necessary documents for growing and transporting the product into a dispensary.
Marijuana for you?
right here.
Pineapple Kush is an all-natural medicine which we distribute to people that need the medicine to be comfortable in life. This medicine is now a year old. This was harvested last year. You can see by the kind of darker green color, it's still good. Nice.
My name is Bill Kroger. I'm a lawyer here in Los Angeles. I practice in the federal and state courts, and our practice is mainly defending medical marijuana individuals, whether they're growers or they're vendors or they're dispensaries. California marijuana is the largest cash crop. If they could somehow reel in those dollars that are being just spent and not collected, our state would have a lot more money. In fact, maybe they could keep the schools open for the summer and hire more police officers and keep people in prison longer.
A local neighbor patrolling around on an ATV warns of a nearby bust taking place.
Hey, how you doing?
They busted the living Christ out of Spy Rock. They had a command center right in there.
Really?
Now they got a command center at the Adirondack Ranch. Some guys told Windows that they're coming back Monday.
In 1983, CAMP, or Campaign Against Marijuana Planting, was born. And even though marijuana was the only industry keeping the entire region from becoming a third world slum, our government started the task of spending millions and millions of tax dollars attempting to eradicate the evildoer hippie weed.
California is used for beta tests by the federal government. And they know that the fact that Californians demanded an end to marijuana prohibition was a big blow against unconstitutional federal control.
Here in the Emerald Triangle, they're constantly flying this area, surveilling this area. The feds, CAMP, Comet, County of Mendocino eradication teams, and Humboldt County eradication teams are coming down through the Emerald Triangle here.
20 years later, CAMP continues its futile effort of eradication, but for a new evolving breed of grower who play by the new rules, the busts have nearly stopped. The Holistic Club is the sole grower of Pineapple Kush and are recognized by the state of California with an article of incorporation as a legitimate nonprofit medical marijuana provider.
This is why we have the sign here. This is just showing them that we are in fact incorporated. All of our accounts are incorporated, and we are providing our medicine for our patient members of our collective.
Back in the early 80s, Philip Morris bought over 50,000 acres in the Triangle, making it obvious that people way up at the top are hedging their bets that marijuana will be totally legalized.
The rewards of letting people get in touch with one of nature's miracles is the greatest reward here.
Back in Hollywood, Ed Fortune, or Weed Man, starts his daily routine.
My name is Robert Edward Fortune Jr., but I'm publicly called the New Jersey Weed Man. I've been to prison twice in New Jersey for doing exactly what I'm doing here, providing marijuana. I came here specifically so that I can provide marijuana legally. I can make a living. I pay taxes without the fear of arrest. Them guys on the south side of the city selling out of their homes and their cars, doesn't take much, really. You go to the city, self business license. I'm happy with Obama. Obama promised that he was going to stop the raids and allow for states' rights, and that's what this is. The state of California has instituted medical marijuana.
For all practical purposes, it seemed as if the federal government was finally abiding by the will of the people. And for all the doubts that have arisen during Obama's first 6 months in office, it seemed as if he was living up to his campaign promises to stop raiding legitimate caregivers.
Medical marijuana in the same way with the same controls as other drugs prescribed by doctors. I think that's entirely appropriate.
I voted for Obama. I believe we needed some desperate change in Washington, but I do not believe he's going to live up to the promises he made on medical marijuana, at least until the second term.
Barack Obama came in and said, hey, you guys have won. I'm a progressive. We're going to decriminalize marijuana laws. But we're going to bring in all this bureaucratic red tape. So he lulled people to sleep to where they thought everything was okay. And now the government is coming in to regulate and overtax and control it.
Besides no longer having to watch a mentally challenged president on TV, it's hard to tell if anything has really changed. The economy is heading down, job losses, wars continuing, and people are still sitting in jail and going to jail for illegal drugs, including marijuana. But if you happen to be lucky enough to live in one of the 14 states that have legalized medical marijuana, you should have noticed a change. Standing in clear vision of the Sheriff's Department, the people of West Hollywood proudly and happily danced to songs about using vaporizers instead of pipes or joints. After all, they fought for it, so they deserve it. And now they can all smoke weed every day.
One more time. Vapo, vapo, vapo. Vapo, vapo, vapo. Vapo, vapo, vapo. Vapo, vapo, vape. Thank you.
And here I was living with AIDS, and I didn't think I would live 6 months. And here I am, 13, 14 years later, with 600 T cells, undetectable like Magic Johnson, and I produced this event. And I did it for the patients. Whatever is on my epitaph, it'll be, I did it for the patients.
And for the friendly folks of West Hollywood, the future never looked brighter.
I love you all, my children.
1, 2, 3.
Now, there is continued outrage tonight following a DEA raid on a medicinal marijuana clinic.
Several law enforcement agencies raided the dispensaries in Culver City and West Los Angeles, along with the owner's home. Reports say officers shot and wounded a pit bull at one location. The drug agents won't give details on the owner's arrest, but they say they seized 200 plants, 100 pounds of marijuana, and $100,000 in cash.
Just when all the pot-smoking citizens thought it was safe, the DEA, along with the FBI and local LAPD, swooped down on 2 local dispensaries and the home of owner Jeff Joseph.
Wait a second, why are they shooting our dog? Why don't they bring one of the other agencies? This is the government, they have access to animal control, they have access to all these things to be able to protect themselves and the citizens. Why would they shoot our dog?
My name is Jeff Joseph. I'm a LA native, West LA native. My father actually died of cancer, and I saw cannabis benefit him for medicinal uses.
With his place still in shambles from the raid, Jeff walks through the scene of the crime.
Came here, forced our door open, pulled somebody out. From there, our dog started barking, and they shot the dog.
This is the dog's blood. This is where he was shot originally. And apparently the officers are afterwards, when they were looking for the dog, they said, "Where's the dog?" And they said, "Oh, he's just bleeding out in the corner." They just said, "Just let him bleed out in the corner, he'll be fine."
I said, no, the employees were crying. Call animal control, what's wrong with you guys? And then the DEA goes, "Oh, I thought I shot him in the head." Actually, I think it was the FBI said, "Oh, I think I shot him in the head." Like laughing, haha.
They busted the door in, and before I could even figure out what was going on, they were in my face. "Get the fuck on the ground!" And I was over here, like, gun in my face for the first time ever, like not knowing what to do, just dropping to the ground. And
Power's in the people, Obama doesn't have that much power as we're seeing now. The people had the power to get him into office because we wanted the change, but he can't effectively make the change happen. So
we don't have a lot of details right now about what happened last week down in Venice and in Culver City. My impression is that local law enforcement is very unhappy with the location and the existence of a medical marijuana facility that borders Culver City and Los Angeles.
they had me on the ground and zip tied my wrist, and that's pretty much a week after.
It's very devastating, and in fact, when I go into a dispensary after it's been raided, I always suggest that anybody who was there at the raid should go seek therapy, because having a gun put to your head or a gun pointed at you is not a fun thing, and it's something that you can't just shrug off.
So they said destroying your security cameras was for your safety?
For our safety and their safety.
How was that for your safety?
I don't know.
Jeff's situation is very sad. Jeff is a really great person that works in the community so people understand what's going on, and his shop really catered to people that needed medicine, and he was a very compassionate person. If somebody came in and needed some medicine and couldn't afford it, Jeff would always be there for them, and he has known to take in homeless people and let them sleep at his house or location. So I think there's a lot of good things to be said about Jeff and the way he ran his club and the way he treated the community.
Out of approximately 1,000 dispensaries in the Southland, why was Jeff Joseph singled out?
And we know a year ago that local law enforcement was involved in bringing the DEA to that facility to shut it down. And I suspect that what's happened now is that they're very disturbed to find that a year later, the patients are still operating this facility and it's still open. And this is a follow-up on that previous raid.
In 2008, a photograph taken of a DEA raid on Organica spread across the internet.
What's happened since then is Jeff reopened, and Culver City didn't like it again. In fact, they were doing surveillance on it. We know this because we've represented a few people coming out of there. And they probably once again called the DEA and LAPD, and they pulled together a lot of different agencies from the state and from the federal government, and they conducted a raid.
What we call that is a smash and grab raid, where they just smash in and grab everything and leave. And it's pretty clear from those experiences, which are the norm in California, that we're not really seeing a sincere effort to enforce federal drug law, but rather an effort to interfere in California's implementation and to make the operation of medical cannabis facilities, the collectives and cooperatives, as difficult and as frightening and as costly as possible.
Even though California and other states have legalized marijuana, we've seen a massive increase in smash and grab raids, where they come in, smash up the medical marijuana dispensary, steal the pot, steal the money, and then only put a small amount into their evidence lockers.
We have a lovely picture of Obama here. That was the point, right? I think that was his official quote about medical marijuana or marijuana. Yeah, we still have patients wanting to know if they can access their medicine, and unfortunately at the moment, we're closed. Sorry guys, we're closed right now. We're closed. We're closed right now. It's undetermined. God bless you. Thank you for coming.
George Washington wrote in letters about how he grew the weed and how wonderful this herb was and how it was one of the most dynamic of plants. He discussed and wrote about how he would smoke it if he had a headache or a stomach ache. Many of the founding fathers, many of the Puritan preachers smoked it in their pipes. Now understand, folks, I'm here speaking in this film and I don't smoke marijuana. But I do understand, and I have looked at the medical information on it. It is not as bad for you and has many medicinal uses, but it's not as bad for you as alcohol is. The deaths related to alcohol are massive.
This is nice.
Hi, I'm Craig X. You're at the Beverly Hills Green Cross. I am known as the pro-pot pastor, I guess, since I started Temple 420. I believe God created cannabis when he created all the plants on the planet. It's for all people to use. And that the world is being oppressed by a fascist government, Obama and the rest of the administration. The entire U.S. government, except for a few exceptions, people like Ron Paul, have sold themselves out to this new world order. We're about to have hyperinflation in the U.S. like you wouldn't believe, and there's going to be a crisis that they're going to have to solve.
This is how it works. Governments need crises, so they have an excuse to get in your life in the name of taking care of you. The British, over 100 years ago, even the mainstream history books admit, used their control of the ports and opium to get control of the criminal gangs and to later bring down the government of China and install their own puppet dictatorship and break the country in over 10 pieces. Well, fast forward to the 20th century. You could buy opium and cocaine in every corner drugstore, in every shop. And you had less drug use then than you do now. I mean, look at what happened with Prohibition. They outlawed alcohol, and suddenly the use of alcohol skyrocketed because it was risque and cool to drink. People had more alcohol poisoning because the stuff was being brewed in people's bathtubs. It energized huge criminal crime syndicates, and then the government, of course, had to expand its federal controls and violate people's rights and set up a police state. That's why they love the drug war.
I remember when I was a teenager, just before Prohibition was repealed, we used to sneak a drink or two from a hip flask. Oh, my mother and father thought it was the end of the world. So what happened? Absolutely nothing.
When they lost alcohol prohibition, they had to move on to something new. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms had to have something to do, and that's what they did. And look at it. We're 70 plus years into the drug war. Just in the last decade, the amount of cocaine in the country has doubled. The amount of heroin has tripled. And our prison population has more than tripled. There's now over 7.5 million people in prison or on parole.
The question is how do we most effectively reduce substance misuse? How do we most effectively enable people to manage their drug use so that they cause as little harm to themselves and others as possible?
If you engage in any type of high-contact sport, chances are you're going to get injured. Former wrestler Shelly Martinez nearly lost her life, but not to some Bahama mama in the ring, but to tiny little pills prescribed by her trusted doctor.
Well, I'm Shelly Martinez, yay! And I'm known for my wrestling persona in WWE. And that's where I discovered that I was addicted to pills. It's an ugly story, and here's the story. You know, I never touched a marijuana cigarette a day in my life. That's what I always would tell people all the time. Like whenever they would, you know, try to get me high in high school, whatever, I'd like, look, I never touched a marijuana cigarette a day in my life. So then I go to WWE, and I hurt my back really bad during my developmental time there. And next thing I know, I went to the doctor and I was like, hey, you know, I got this weird thing going on in my back like that, and it's making me not sleep. He's like, well, that's called a muscle spasm. Here you go. Here's some Somas. So then I started taking them, and then 1 wasn't doing the trick, 2 wasn't doing the trick. So then I told him, you know, what do I do? He's like, oh, just up your dose. Before I knew it, I was 20 Somas a day deep.
It's so ironic that doctors who claim marijuana is harmful will not only prescribe dangerous synthetic drugs to patients, but will often prescribe lethal doses.
And I've been astounded by the number of people with a similar story of getting off of narcotics.
Meanwhile, back in Marina Del Rey, Elliot and Daniel go to the animal hospital to visit poor wounded Scabs, who had been shot twice by a government worker.
Big Scabs. Scabs. Hey, buddy. Hey, pal. Hi, Scabbers. Oh, yeah, you got shot. Hey, buddy.
What's his name? Scabby or Scabs?
Scabs, yeah. S-C-A-B-S.
There you go. Sit on the blanket.
There you go, buddy.
There you go.
Oh, you're so good. And so he was all scabbed up when we got him. He actually looked a lot better. Oh, you're so good. Yes, you are.
He loves you so much. Man.
Jeez, dude, you're crazy.
A lot of blood.
And then the other bullet, I guess, pierced him at least 4 times. The second shot, the guy was working there. Oh, big Scabs, dude. No one but you can take shots.
Yeah, buddy.
Returning to the Emerald Triangle, we met with some guys at a local restaurant who just had that special look, so we convinced them to let us film one of their grow sites. Out here, the countryside is littered with greenhouses, and the smell of sweet, sticky weed permeates the air. Anyone who says growing good cannabis is easy has obviously never done it. Although the majority of their harvest is perfect, one greenhouse has experienced a very common problem.
And every day, I sling this over my shoulder, plug it into the generator, climb up the ladder, and suck them all.
They're spider mite. He's sucking off the spider mites. And once you get to this point, it's like all you're doing is catching up with them. Right. If you get them at all, you fight it immediately.
So it might look like a nice plant, but it's just a bloody mongrel Mendocino homegrown bloody garden variety plant. It doesn't have a designer name. It's not like, you know, Purple Urkel or Grape Ape or bloody any of these bloody train wrecks or any of that sort of shit. I call them anything that's decent, and if people want a name, I tell them it's a red-headed stepchild.
At first glance, the names used by many of the growers to market cannabis can seem a little bit, how do you say, head shoppish.
We have the Blue Dream, the Master Bubba, the Mango Kush, the Bono Kush, the Maui Wowie Madness, the grapes.
Here we have a sample, a very popular variety known as OG Kush.
The Granddaddy Purple, the sour, super sour diesel, and man, that's super sour.
This is called LA Confidential. That is the colloquial name for another indica dominant variety.
Euphoria, we have a wonderful customer named Judy who loves that. Purple Urkel.
This is a relatively unique variety of medical cannabis. It's OG crossed with haze. When you see the phrase crossed with in the name of a variety of medical cannabis, what that means is that two strains have been bred together to produce a new strain, hopefully one that has the positive characteristics of both of them.
The funny name thing is definitely something I try to talk my clients out of, because a lot of times you'll go into these stores and you'll walk out with a big vial that says Kush on it.
Sugar Daddy Kush, Triple X Hindu Kush.
You know, if somebody's pulled over with that, the cops see it as Kush. They don't see it as medical marijuana. So the names, you know, as strange as they are, they're here to stay. I don't think that's going to change.
God's Gift, Super Afghani, and then we have the Platinum Bubba, the Super Silver Haze. Ooh, that's one of my personal favorites. And then the True OG, that's what we just smoked upstairs.
And if it wasn't for weed, this county, most of Northern California would be fucking down the gurgler, ain't it?
Besides being a dispensary owner, Don Duncan is the co-founder of Americans for Safe Access, a group that helps people such as Jeff in a time of crisis.
Yeah, he's recovering. We got him into the hospital and stuff. So.
You know, I think that the issue with the dog struck a nerve with people. I think.
Yeah, it's definitely it's brutal. Brutal. It shows the brutality. Like the dog is not committing a crime.
No.
Scabby, hey, is the dog here? Yeah. All right, Kevin, come here, Scabs. Scabby, come here. Oh, buddy. Oh, come on, Scabby. Oh, come here. Oh, shh. Oh, he's scared. He's scared. He's scared. Oh, Scabby. Oh, he's scared.
So where are you right now? Are you indicted? Don't know?
I have paperwork. I basically have a California charge. I can bring and show you all my paperwork.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would love to
let's go do that.
Search warrant affidavit? Is that what they left you?
Yeah. That's sad. That's actually more sad than I even thought. He's just totally traumatized.
Yeah.
I was worried about him coming back here and being traumatized. I had no idea if that would be the case.
Yeah, he may also be looking around and saying, who are all these people? Well, they're certainly throwing the book at you here.
Sure, they certainly are.
Matters.
This business matters.
Building code matters, you know, all of those are civil matters. So the raid here, I think, and I think you know already, is a payback basically for being open after your DEA raid last year.
Well, okay.
I think they came back to make a point, and I think that's why they came in very aggressively. And I think that's why they came in with all these agencies, is because they wanted to teach you a lesson.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. I know the path forward in the courts is grim. They're coming in with a state warrant with the federal agents, and that certainly flies in the face of the spirit of our law.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's actually breaking any legal principles, I don't know.
I am Jeff Joseph. I'm also known as brother to my brother. I'm also known as son to my mother. Okay, I am known by many names. I go in there. I am here today as Jeff Joseph, intervener, for the purpose of helping the parties settle all claims and charges outstanding to bring resolution, settlement, and closure in this matter. That's the first thing I say to him before I'm inside the bar. If it will please the court, may I enter the bar under these said terms and conditions? You know what he's gonna say? No. Who are you? I am Jeff Joseph, third party, intervener. Cannot get arrested. You're not in contempt of court. I'm identifying myself. I am here as Jeff Joseph. I'm invoking my rights. This is risky, but I don't see any other strategy. I'm going to go down for it then. Fuck them. I'm sick of what they're doing to people. This is wrong.
Yeah,
it's got to stop. I'm invoking my rights. I'm not going to let them do this to me anymore. What they're doing to people is wrong. It's a kangaroo court and they've got it fixed. I'm going to invoke my rights. I'm not afraid anymore. Fine, put me in jail. I'm invoking my rights. I'm here as Jeff Joseph. You can call me many things. I am not capital letters. I am not a corporation. You can invoke your corporate power on me, but I'm a sovereign citizen of the republic.
So even if you don't smoke marijuana, you need to understand that marijuana abolition is being used as an excuse, as a pretext to turn America into a nightmare police state. And the people have spoken. National polls show that more than 75% of Americans want marijuana decriminalization, but still it doesn't happen. I thought this was supposedly a democracy.
If I'm a martyr for something bigger than just medical marijuana, the fact that people all over our country's rights are just getting ripped off left and right by our government, whatever business you're in, there's something there.
Yeah.
That needs to be addressed. Do we have freedom in this country or do we not?
The fact is, this is our temple. Your body's your temple. So we use Wheaties. We get up every morning and wake and bake. We use the cannabis medicine and then we improve our bodies physically by da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. These guys just smoked 6 bowls of medical marijuana and now they're in training.
When Shelly Martinez suffered her back injury, like most people, she wanted a quick fix. Back injury is a very common problem, shared by millions of Americans who consume billions of dollars worth of pharmaceutical chemicals every year simply to mask the pain.
So I was taking the pills pretty heavily because at first it started off with the normal and then it built and built and built because I was just in so much discomfort. And you know, after a while, your just body gets immune to what you're putting into it, which leads to more and more and more. And all my issues, like growing up as a child and things that had happened, taking those pills put me in a really dark place with that.
Opium-based painkillers are not the only drug people suffering injuries get addicted to.
And before you knew it, it was like one of those things where, okay, yeah, maybe my muscles weren't spazzing out and giving me discomfort, but I'll tell you what, I was like one of those people that I'd be sitting there and then all of a sudden, boom, and then I was out like, ew, that's not living. And that was me, like 4 years ago.
Due to an overdose of the muscle relaxer Soma, Shelly was pronounced dead on arrival.
The standard big pharmacy sleeping pills, Lord knows how much millions of dollars are spent every day on ads for that. It's nice to present a much safer alternative to that as well.
Back in the Emerald Triangle, the day starts early, but it's never too early to talk about weed.
Listen, stronger, farther. Can see it. Pure, good Afghani strain. You know, these will even double in size before it's over. They will be huge. Something about 3 to 4 inches in diameter. I mean, you can see this one's getting bigger. You can see it's already starting to turn a little purple. It's not cold enough yet. The purple will come out like overnight, like unbelievably when it gets cold. Watch the plants there, sport. Is that your head? Could have been worse.
Mi nombre es Tino.
Dinero por trabajo goes back to familia in Mexico.
Oh, yeah, sí. Aquí en Estados Unidos, mucho dinero. Trabajo, de mota, bueno, mucho dinero.
Upon returning to the Triangle for another tour, we ran into a group of heavily armed growers while cooling off in a local creek. They actually ended up being pretty cool guys, so we hung out for several hours. It's funny, but up in the Emerald Triangle, marijuana is about as valuable as a fistful of dirt. 2 hours from the closest store, a beer has much higher value. Eventually, I asked the guys if I could interview them, and at first they were very suspicious. But several beers and blunts later, they changed their minds, and we headed into the heavily guarded camp.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Maclovio Najar Solis. I'm a guy from Mexico, you know.
This could be the part of the film where I talk about how much danger I was in. But to be honest, these guys were showbiz savvy enough to understand how to get camera time, and like a sucker, I fell for it. We may be almost 1,000 miles away from Hollywood, but it's still California.
And I say we will live in the marijuana plants. They're going to say the world someday. That's it.
Oh, it's close.
Nice.
Vamos caminando para allá, yo le hago un porro para arriba.
¿Dónde? All right.
We eventually convinced the guys to show us their greenhouse. Being one of the best places on the entire planet to grow marijuana has driven land values in the Emerald Triangle off the charts. So it's very unusual and rare to find young men from Mexico who own their own ranch. To anyone who is wincing because of the guns, keep in mind that people heavily arming themselves as a result of the prohibition. If marijuana was totally legalized, you would still have to stand guard over the expensive crop, but the level of fear and uncertainty would go way down.
Oh, it smells good.
We came from the real poor real poor town in Mexico, you know. We find a way to have our own property and start working legally. Yeah.
In a very well-produced recent CNBC cable special titled Marijuana Inc., former drug czar John Waters made a point that the Mexican growers in Northern California were supporting the cartels in Mexico.
The guys that do this are worst guys you can think of, cutting off heads and killing women and children without a qualm.
We do this for like a, hobby?
Like a hobby.
Yeah, like a hobby. You know, we stay here. We do a lot of jogging and a lot of exercise. You know.
Yeah.
And the weather is good for our system. You know.
I tell the guys what the former drug czar John Waters said about the Mexicans supporting cartels.
Yeah, but first you come here, everybody look us like a rubber face. You know, like you're gonna rob me or something. But we don't come here to, you know, take somebody else stuff. You know, we do this on a straight way.
How is your family? Are your families back home living a lot better now?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now with the little money we make here, we can send our kids to the school, and you know, we can you know, get live well. Not rich, but we're doing well.
Okay. Kind of like it's a little unreal.
Oh, and we had some seed that my partner here brought from down north. He calls Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Is that from that movie?
Nice guy.
Yeah. You guys seen Half Baked?
My name is Teresa Blaylock, and I'm a substance abuse counselor. I've worked both in methadone clinics and in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation as a substance abuse counselor. The drug companies couldn't patent marijuana necessarily, but the government, and really what the one governor in your last documentary said about, you know, if we started taxing it and having it as a legal entity, then we could control it a lot better.
The effect you get with that one is kind of, you do like the name say, you know, you smoke a little bit and you treat people better, you know, like you be nice. Yeah.
I don't see marijuana as being a big hairy deal. Now, when I was young and my parents started smoking marijuana, that was a new thing and it wasn't quite so scary, and my parents allowed me and my sisters to smoke marijuana. I was really young and I smoked for about 2 weeks and decided I didn't like it, and so I quit.
Everybody goes where the money is, so if they legalize it,
yeah,
they're gonna go to something that you get more money out of than this.
If we did have marijuana as a legal entity, then, and that you could go and buy it at a marijuana distributing, it would be taxed, it would be controlled. We wouldn't have kids going in and buying it because it would be like alcohol. You got to show your ID, show that it's okay for you to be getting it.
If California could legally grow enough high-grade marijuana to supply the entire state, and even most of the country, would it end America's need for Mexican marijuana?
Well, I mean, you look at what's going on in Mexico right now. It's like Chicago during the days of alcohol prohibition, Al Capone times 50. I mean, it's as if they're his figurative grandchildren or great-grandchildren, except they now have Mexican surnames. You look at the levels of violence and crime and corruption. Mexico's always struggled with this, but the illegality of the drug trade, its power, and their proximity to the United States has resulted in this really getting out of control.
Plus, they always blame on Mexicans. I don't know why. They always blame Mexicans. You know, they're Mexican cartels, you know. Mexican cartels, they're in Mexico, you know, and not here.
The Mexican government admits that by making drugs illegal in the last 50 years, they have created a giant criminal class that has bought off much of their government. And now, if the government doesn't make payments to the drug dealers, they will assassinate government leaders. They will bomb schools. They will attack newspapers if they don't make payments. The United States is in danger of collapsing into police corruption if we don't do what Mexico has begun to do, only through desperation, and legalize drugs, starting with marijuana.
When we ended the prohibition on alcohol, you think people kill someone over a beer? No, not anymore, but they're still killing each other over pot. Why? You go out and you work hard, you build a harvest, you plant. The buds grow, they go, great, oh wow, we got $1 million harvest. All of a sudden your buddies go, oh, I didn't kill these guys and make $1 million. So they go and kill their partners, and that's some of the crazy shit that's happening right now. So if you want to see the violence out of the drug war, if you want to see the violence out of America, you need to end the prohibition on marijuana.
Real good plant, you know, it's medicine.
We do this just to protect ourselves.
So movie is still going. No, aquí estamos. We shoot guns because we want new bullets.
Stino de Michoacán.
I'm from Compa Canilla from Jalisco.
Gracias.
Zacatecas, Lalo. Kevin Booth, Ireland.
El Cote, Zacatecas.
El Cote.
All right.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
again
guys.
for having us here.
It's because of the example that California is going to give. You know, while people are coming into dispensaries and picking up their marijuana here nice and safe and going home, still in some of these inner cities back east, people are going to get their marijuana on the street corners, and they might end up in the middle of a turf war, might end up getting a stray bullet, might end up getting robbed, might end up buying something that they didn't think they were buying.
The more kids that get hooked, the better for business.
So we know why marijuana is enemy number one of the DEA and the federal government. It's a decentralized drug that has hundreds of health benefits that they don't control and that they don't get to launder the proceeds of, like heroin or cocaine that's grown overseas in limited areas and is very easy to control. They don't like it.
But the way some of their influence has worked is the CIA's front companies become some of the larger advertisers in the magazines, so they can affect editorial control because they're friends with the editors, they're the big advertiser, they're like, hey, we've set up all these grow operations, so then the editors need pot pictures, so like, hey, we can bring you our garden or whatever, so they begin to have the influence. So that way the CIA doesn't necessarily own the pot magazines or didn't create them, but what they've done is they've been able to influence them with money, and they're able to deal drugs on a huge basis, and they don't fear prosecution so much.
Big Pharma hates it because marijuana is much better for depression, anxiety, nausea, people who are having trouble sleeping. It's a miracle drug, and it's something they can't patent. They've tried to patent over and over again submolecules of THC, and it just doesn't have the effect. There's other things in the plant that are causing all these great health effects, not just the THC. But the big kahuna is international control. Codex Alimentarius is a global compact being agreed to by the United Nations, the Fortune 500, and governments on a planetary scale. And they don't just want to keep marijuana illegal. They want to criminalize over-the-counter sale of vitamin C, fish oil, colloidal silver, aloe vera, and literally thousands of natural herbs, plants, minerals, and vitamins. They want to make you go to a doctor. They want to make these controlled substances. They want to patent them. So that's what's really happening, is that big global corporations know that alternative health and wellness is a gigantic market. And so they're going to the government and telling the government, create a monopoly for us. Don't let anyone else cultivate or sell these naturally occurring plants. And that's why they're fighting to keep marijuana illegal.
Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, Jeff Joseph prepares to visit his lawyer a few days before his court appearance.
And that's basically my mission here today, is to talk to my lawyer, let him know I really appreciate his service and that I probably won't be using him for a while. So, see how it goes. working. You mind if we go in with it? Okay. Number 10?
He's going to represent himself, and I'm not quite 100% clear, so he's definitely going about a different way, which to him feels the right way, and I feel the same.
Okay. The saga continues. Well, according to my lawyer, I'm not indicted. I don't have a case. They don't have anything filed yet. Most likely what they're doing is they're looking through everything they've taken from me. They're trying to figure out if this is a case here or not. I don't want to turn any paperwork trying to get them to get me on in the court. No, I'd rather just not give them anything and never talk to them again. That makes my life a lot easier.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of the best it could be right now.
That's great news. That's the best news of the day.
I'm Kyle Kazan. I am a retired police officer. Spent 5 years with the Torrance Police Department here in Los Angeles County, California. Retired about 10 years ago, and during my 5-year career I made a lot of arrests for possession of drugs, drug sales. I'm hoping that California will set an example by showing that by legalizing marijuana, we're not going to see increases of crime. We're not going to see big, we're not, the world is not going to fall apart with marijuana being legalized.
California's got some serious money trouble. We've been talking about this. Now, one state assemblyman says the cure is marijuana.
David, California in particular has a $45 billion budget deficit. Wouldn't this help?
Well, I don't think so, because if you legalize marijuana and people can sell it and advertise it and promote it, marijuana use is going to go up. And when marijuana use goes up, all of the costs connected with marijuana use go up.
Like, for example?
Well, crime costs, healthcare costs, drug treatment costs.
It's a gateway drug.
Drug driving is going to be going up. So those are all costs that go up. There's also spiritual losses. When you have a kid addicted to marijuana, that's a terrible problem for a family.
But they're still smoking it, right, Ethan?
I got to tell you,
whether it's legal or not?
Smoking marijuana is a gateway to becoming president. I mean, the current guy smoked and he said he did inhale. The previous guy, he smoked, he wouldn't admit it. The previous guy said he didn't inhale. Quite frankly, over 100 million Americans have smoked marijuana. It's something that huge numbers of people have done. The vast majority did not get in trouble.
You need to bring big pharmaceutical and alcohol companies on board, and somehow they're going to need to profit from marijuana as well. And once they start lobbying for it, I think you'll see less enforcement.
Regardless of all the liberal talk coming out of Washington, to this day, hundreds of thousands of people are arrested annually and locked into cages because of a plant that grows naturally.
The drug-dealing banks own and control many of the private prisons that hapless drug users are incarcerated in.
There's an inflection point that when we get over 3.2% of the population incarcerated, it actually increases crime. And we have, in certain populations, way over that.
They put the illegal drug user in the private prison owned by the big banks that launder the drug money to begin with. It's the perfect tax.
Within any population, 1 to 2% are sociopaths, and those are the ones that need to be locked up if they're dangerous sociopaths.
I was beat up by over 22 Philadelphia police. I was left for dead. And if it was marijuana, I wouldn't be sober. I wouldn't be forgiven. I wouldn't be good. And that's the way I look at it. This is where this comes from. Brutality. And I love every police same way. See it? That is the power of marijuana. See it? Know that. Marijuana make I forgive and more love.
Whenever you talk to someone who's knowledgeable about marijuana, they always say they know the guy. You know, the guy who really knows about weed? Well, meet Brett Bogue, or The Guy. For those in the know, Brett is responsible for such flavors as Grape Ape and has won 3 World Cannabis Cups. When it comes to weed, Brett Bogue ain't playing.
My name is Brett Bogue. I'm a medical marijuana patient. I'm a cancer survivor.
I'm the youngest patient ever in the world at the time, diagnosed with the rare form of melanoma, skin cancer. I had 33 radiation treatments, and for the past roughly about 15 years, I've been working specifically in the medical marijuana field, specifically developing medical strains, traveling throughout the world, and really trying to get information to help people such as me.
Known for being part of one of the largest medical marijuana grows in DEA history, Brett is one of those people who seems to be trying to start a total change in the game.
What's it called? Gecko?
Gecko University.
There we go. Serious?
God's green earth. It's a wonderful
Perfect.
thing.
See, here's God. Right here. What? Here's God.
With several new locations opening soon in Southern California, Gecko University is a one-stop learning shop, from growing to running a business, but most important, staying out of jail.
I'm so proud of you.
Welcome to Gecko University. Tonight we'll be talking about the basic forms of setting up a medical operations. The 5 key components that we'll be talking about tonight are law. We'll be talking about local and federal laws, just basics. We'll also be talking about the medical. Now that's really an important facet for us and an important part. I really believe we're on the verge of maybe cracking one of the codes of maybe our existence in life. What I mean by that is we really want to emphasize on CBDs. Now CBDs can be found on the green leaf matter of any medical marijuana plant. Now CBDs, I'll pass it around, are very important to one's body. They help with inflammatory reduction. They also help with nausea. They also help with anxiety. And they've been known to prevent precancerous cells. So it's a very powerful, very new to the medical community as far as the applications. And a lot of doctors are really getting hip and understanding. And that's where we really want to make a difference with our school. We want to be able to provide up-to-date information with the doctors. But I think if one takes the time to really look at what this plant really means to our planet, I think you're going to have to agree it's almost the most essential part of our existence. 2-3 drops, that's more than enough, and sit down and have a place to relax, because you're going to be sitting down for a while, I guarantee you. So now finally, it's the horticulture part. Now for those that you don't know, I am an International Cannabis Cup winner, 3-time International Cannabis Cup winner. I've created such strains as Grape 8, Kai Kush, the Pez, Levity, Silverback, the Goo, just to name a few. So it's very fun, and exciting for me to kind of teach this part of the course. And right now, it's just a thrill to kind of, be out here to explain this to you guys.
But if you make marijuana legal, it goes from being a back alley thing, something shipped in from Mexico, sprayed with toxic chemicals, to a high art form, to the equivalent of fine wine vineyards today in Northern California and France. And that's already happening in the Emerald Triangle in Northern California, where there are thousands of different strains and varieties of cannabis being grown and developed. And as the medical studies begin to come out of these different varieties, they're finding even more and more medical treatments. This really is a wonder plant.
And over the past probably 10 to 15 years, the medical field and even personal use has really elevated its game. And I think that's where a lot of us breeders, such as me, I own Apothecary Seeds in Amsterdam, it really hit home for me personally with getting cancer to really work on specific strains and specific regions and really go to those areas and find out about the history of the strain and really try to produce something that is indigenous not only to certain regions, but certain areas and certain, frankly, religious groups use sacrament for many thousands of years. And to go back to these certain countries and regions and find the history of this and be able to bring it back here to America and then crossbreed and to be able to create something as fabulous. And we've won, again, international acclaim
through our breeding techniques and our processes. And we hope in this upcoming year, I've got 2 or 3 new strains that will be entering into the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam this year that really, well, I hope will win. I definitely think through the research we've done medically, we are definitely one of the leaders, if not the leader, in the world when it comes to medical marijuana strains. I hope this is all right if I smoke this. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead.
Featured in our last film, American Drug War, T. Rogers is known as one of the co-founders of the Blood Street Gang, who now works to keep kids out of gangs. Besides being shot 4 times and having a kidney transplant, 1 year ago T suffered an excruciating loss when his wife Kathy suddenly died of breast cancer. Not being one who likes to get high, T has been very resistant to the idea of using marijuana as medicine.
Kevin, cut your camera off! It's people like us, truly, that need the benefits that herb can give us without being gang goofy, without being high. And that's what a lot of us are really looking for.
So anyway, so T wants to get some brownies, but in order to get brownies...
Well, shit. Now, T.
Yes, sir.
So you know the deal about getting all the edibles now. With the new law and everything, we need to be able to get you a license. Are you up for doing that?
No, we have to get me a license.
Oh, I love it.
Knock, knock.
Come on in, doctor.
How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Doing well, doing well.
Good.
Did I get the right place?
I think you got the right place, sir.
All right. Dr. Alexander here.
Exactly. Brett, good to meet you.
T. Rogers, sir.
T. Rogers, how you feeling, Mr. Rogers?
I'm good, sir. I'm
good to see you. Good to see you.
How are you, sir?
Doing well. It's flu season. I don't have it yet, so
That's
right.
good.
Have a seat and rest your feet. Let's see what's going on. My name is Dr. Edward Alexander. I'm an internist in Los Angeles, California. I'm also an expert in medical marijuana, and I do house calls. The issue of the kidney is going to be the big one for us too, because we really want to know how does this impact your immunity. And those are, given that you're already using it, first things first,
Actually, I'm not.
You're not using it?
No.
Okay, so we're in the discovery phase.
After getting T set up, I was beginning to feel like a hypocrite. I had listened to my conspiracy-minded friends and stayed away from the doctor in fear of getting my name on some national DEA pot smoker database. But I felt like my time had come, so I decided to consult with my friend Mac Lindsay, who does not smoke weed at all, and in fact attends Narcotics Anonymous meetings in Hollywood. It's always your one friend who goes to AA who has to ruin the party for everyone.
Their solution is to have government involved by passing legislation that, ultimately the state would have to license someone to dispense marijuana, and also for a patient to be. And I don't know where these doctors are. Everybody, these special doctors, the weed doctors.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Although Mac hardly talked me into doing it, I was offered a free doctor's visit in a very upscale neighborhood of Westwood.
How do you do? My name is Mike Morris. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Good to be here.
When they get to call pot medicine, just like this sense of almost conceit, it's almost like a sense of just being able, it's medicine. It's not a drug, it's medicine.
As you do so, has your OxyContin consumption diminished at all?
Oh, yeah.
It's a patient, you guys. All right, we'll be right there. Thanks. All right, let's go. Put that down. Let's go. Oh, hello, ma'am. How you doing? Let us take you in next door.
Go ahead, miss. Would you like to have a seat right here, miss?
Wow.
Yeah, we do it a little bit
What kind
differently.
of dispenser is this?
Medical
It looks so churchy.
Well, we're a church-run medical marijuana dispensary. If you have any questions about the Bible, just let us know. Would you like a snack, a little munchie treat on?
Oh, sure.
Okay, help yourself there. All right, if you need more, let me know.
Say we just grow up and we don't imprison drug offenders anymore. I think that some people have a pathology that lends to a behavior that, causes compulsive intake of substances.
Man, I am so sorry to hear about your addiction to sleeping pills and Oxycontin, but I'm glad you're off the heroin and the speed and the meth and everything else you've been doing recently, and especially the pharmaceuticals.
Just here, take this without really appropriately informing the patient as to the risks they're undertaking from the drug itself.
I can't believe your doctors had you on Paxil, Afixerol, and Prozac. Listen, marijuana can solve all your problems, and you don't even have to smoke it.
Is it your desire to get off those completely?
Absolutely.
You're going to pretend to get your, just put that there. Just put that in and just press the button. That little button right there. There we go.
The first time. This is the hardest part of all of it, Bob.
Have you lean forward
Under
for
the
me?
magnifying glass,
Real
and
deep
that
breath
lets
in
you
and out.
see the trichrome glands growing on the outside of the plant, because all the medicinal effect is in the THC trichomes.
Yours is a more intricate, more involved case, so we will be doing more follow-up. We have some expert opinions we need to get hold of.
Right. Okay, Doc, thanks.
All right, you're welcome.
There's one law that involves you and marijuana and says you can't do it, it's illegal.
I pity the fools.
With one little chicken scratch there, now there's an entirely different law that pertains to you and medical marijuana, and you're legal.
Oh my God, it's
Trying to keep the document.
So, if you like our marijuana, I think you should go home and marry me.
That I'm more into the things that it can do for me medically, as opposed to being intoxicated and being high.
Meanwhile, in the Los Angeles City Council chamber, the tides of change were riding high.
We just had a huge meeting of city workers who might lose their jobs. How about creating a revenue stream for marijuana? We need to come up with a formula so that the city gets a piece of that revenue so that we can deal with our deficit. And I'm tired of gutless politicians that always talk about the war on crime and they mix marijuana in the same mix. That's wrong and crazy.
While the hearts and minds of the people in Los Angeles seemed to be evolving with the times, another battle was taking place a little over 100 miles south. California's gateway to Mexico, San Diego, not only has the highest per capita narcotic agency and military population, probably due to the proximity of Tijuana, but it also has the remnants of a red state, with many old-school staunch Republican types grasping to keep things the way they were back in the good old days. When was the last time you ever heard of the DEA, FBI, and IRS being called in for a noise/vandalism complaint? September 9th, 2009.
Chaos at Hillcrest Compassion Care.
This is a secure area for a search warrant, so I need you to just basically step back, please. Thank you very much.
For no reason violating our rights.
With the federal government backing down on its prosecution of medical marijuana patients and caregivers, the people of San Diego, led by District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis, would have to come up with a new way to get rid of all the no pharmaceutical, no alcohol, no tobacco, herb-selling vigilantes.
Because we're fighting hard to keep kids from using marijuana, and if you let them in, it's going to be a difficult sell.
In reality, only a few complaints of noise and vandalism had been made by neighbors of some of the dispensaries, but instead of sending out patrol cars to try to deal with the actual complaints, they created a task force and busted 14 dispensaries and arrested over 35 people.
One by one, employees of the medical marijuana dispensary are arrested.
Help me up, I need help. My leg is busted, I need help.
Meet the Reverend Paul Cody, owner-operator of Hillcrest Compassion Care.
I am definitely a political prisoner at this point in my life. I've been manipulated and twisted and put in a situation where I had to fight for my rights. And I fear of being arrested. And today our collective has no medicine for people that are terminally ill, people that you'll never see, people that lives that are affected by the politicians that steal from law-abiding people. I ask for your support.
But because the feds lost so many court cases along the lines of the 9th and 10th Amendment and states' rights, they've now changed their tactics. Now they're coming in and getting the local, county, and city police departments to get state warrants, but the states are now becoming purely federalized and asking the feds to come in and raid the medical marijuana dispensaries that have become legal. So in truth, Obama has come out and said, oh yeah, I'm hip, I'm cool. You know, I promised to decriminalize marijuana. But now you got to jump through 100 bureaucratic hoops.
For many in San Diego, former Professor Rudy Reyes has become the face and voice of the local patients and caregivers.
My name's Rudy Reyes. I was burned in the San Diego wildfires in 2003. I use this medicine for pain management, nerve damage, antidepressant, and just in general body relief to help me keep my mind off of the issues that I deal with every day.
I was affected by the fires. I will show you injuries. Most of my body's affected. I'm hurting on a daily basis. I'm not using it for smoking purposes. I'm not using it as a drug. I'm not using anything like that. I'm using it as a tincture. I was prescribed in the hospital. The doctors are all okay with this.
I had small complications that they weren't going to be able to get around. So they eventually went to the last option, which was medical marijuana. And I'm actually prescribed in UCSD, the local big hospital, for medical marijuana as for burns.
You have a right in the state of California to consume medical marijuana for your ailments.
During the Bush years, our government must have had a secret bunker filled with advertising executives who came up with such concepts and names as Operation Enduring Freedom, the War on Terror, and 9/11. In San Diego, the local TV station was saying that 9909 was to be the luckiest day of the year.
9909 was supposed to be a day of compassion, a day of helping other people, humanity. They flipped it the other way around purposely. They attacked those they were supposed to be compassionate on. They attacked those that they were supposed to help. They didn't help us.
So how have things changed so much today that we have a government that hates marijuana and is willing to imprison nonviolent offenders in horrible situations if they smoke this plant? Think about it, my friends. They're trying to outlaw nature. They're trying to enslave us while pushing the most dangerous drugs imaginable.
Prozac, Neurontin.
Can you tell me what they're for as you go through this?
Well, Prozac, we know what's for.
Antidepressant.
Neurontin is
Nerve
peripheral neuropathy. Then the digestion pill, Omeprazole, and a couple of naproxen is all they give me. Lamictal for seizures, and what's that one? Clonazepam for anxiety.
And each one of those drugs literally can be helped by medical marijuana.
Yeah, that's what my friend keeps telling me.
Yes, there's synthetic toxic drugs for pain, anxiety, sleep, nausea, depression, just can't compete. Think about the tens of billions of dollars that Big Pharma makes a year, with close to 20% of the population being on antidepressants, when every major study shows that marijuana absolutely destroys depression in people, and Prozac can't even prove that it has any measurable positive effect, and they have to put on the insert that it may make you commit suicide. People aren't committing suicide from smoking marijuana.
Thank you for your support. The law has been a decade old.
You have rights. You know what I mean? Prop 215 passed 13 years ago.
It's been law for over a decade. Thank you so much for your support.
Go by state law. Because my look, I stand out quite a bit. I deal with issues that people don't even have to deal with. But this helps my life and has maintained the quality where I live better than most burn survivors to this day. I don't have open wounds, I don't have open issues because of that.
Our nation's drug laws serve as a death sentence to hundreds of thousands of patients across the country, patients with AIDS, patients with cancer. And if you were to try to repeal Prop 215 in California, you would be issuing a death sentence to thousands of Californians who need this medicine to survive, as many have attested to today in front of you.
We're being civilly violated here in San Diego. And I've done my best to be accountable for every action that I've done. I love you.
As a final act of defiance, Hillcrest Compassion has done something that no one else in the marijuana movement has had the balls to do. Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever television commercial for marijuana. Let the party begin.
Hillcrest Compassion Care is dedicated to helping and caring for the well-being of its members in a safe and friendly environment. We do this by offering classes including cannabis growing, yoga, meditation, and veteran support groups. For more information, please give us a call at 619-291-4420.
Most deadly drug known. It may drive you totally insane and make you murder people. Switch. Our scientists have studied it. It is deadly. It causes psychotic breaks immediately. If you see anyone with this liquid, call Homeland Security immediately. Switch. Don't drink it. But whether it's Ritalin or Prozac, doesn't matter. The studies are legion, showing that they're destroying our youth and are very, very toxic. But that's okay because the government and its private corporations are dispensing it. And after all, they're in the business of manipulating the human mind.
The science of the brain, of understanding which chemicals can help people live what they believe to be better lives, is where we're headed. So the real question is going to be, how do we deal with that reality? We can't turn back. We can't turn back. We have to learn how to live with that reality so it causes the least possible harm and the greatest possible good.
If you develop suicidal thoughts or actions, stop taking Chantix and call your doctor right away.
But why the double standard? Why with the old line drugs like heroin and cocaine and marijuana will they spend tens of billions of dollars a year violating your rights? Because they got to have some drugs that are illegal. They got to have somebody to work in all these prisons building widgets for whack and hype.
I'm not going to claim that the illegal drugs are any better or worse than the legal drugs. In a way, most of this is about how you use them, the context when you use them, and whether you use them responsibly in the right ways and for the right reasons.
When Shelly Martinez overdosed on muscle relaxers, she was pronounced dead on arrival at the emergency room.
I just remember looking up and it was really happening, and it was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And we were told, people that were there said that my skin totally turned gray and they totally freaked out. And I'm here still. I'm here, and a lot of people don't get to still be here. A lot of people out there are taking their medication that the doctors are giving them, and they're here to talk about it, and it's really sad, especially because there's a lot of talks out there about how cannabis is so wrong, and it's a drug, say no to drugs. But I don't know, last I checked, there's a combination, like Heath Ledger, he took a combo of pills, and look what happened to him.
Shelly reminisces about how a simple dried flower saved her life by breaking her addiction cycle to prescription medication.
Taking those pills put me in a really dark place with that. Whereas that's why when I say cannabis helped me more than just physically, like I said, the first time I got high, it took me back to a time, and I've been able to relive trauma even in my life on a more positive spin. Whereas before, I think another reason why I got so addicted to them was just being that low and being in that darkness. And it was awful. It was so awful, and it's not me at all. And I'm so glad to be out of it. That's why, I have a gajillion things wrong with me, but this one medicine, this great little plant, helps all of that. So I don't have to sit here with a gajillion bottles, and does this one combination with this one gonna make me dead or have a long-term side effect? It's awful. It's awful, and I'm glad that's not my life anymore.
So that's the Liberty Temple right there. That's where we gotta go. I'm gonna have you sit in the car though. I just got Rastafari. I'm in the right place.
I'll make up my own meeting. Hello, ma'am. What's your name? Nice to meet you. Cool beans. Cool. And your doctor's gonna get that? Mm-hmm. Cool.
How you doing,
Hey,
my
brother, how you doing? Ed.
Ed?
Ed.
T. Rogers.
T. Rogers.
You know what? Did y'all name that after me?
Oh no.
OG
No, I know
Crush.
you. I know you're an old. I know you're OG, but now OG Kush is a traditional name of some of the best herb in Southern California. Matter of fact, there's some OG right there.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got to. You got to smell this. Yeah.
If you can't smoke, then edibles. That's where you gotta go. You gotta go with the edibles.
Maybe it was the wrong flavor. What is? Oh, this is peanut butter, huh?
Mm-hmm. You into? Sure, you into some chicken wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, check this out. This is a new one. Pot sauce. It's made out of marijuana. This right here is by a company called, I can't believe, is Pot Butter. Just the fact that they're not arresting anybody anymore and not targeting these dispensaries is great for patients. It's great for harm reduction in society.
Guys, why don't you do like a little transaction and then we'll do like.
You want too much. You want too much. There's just
you
some.
don't want anything.
There's some things I won't do on camera.
Okay. For most dispensaries, it's business as usual. But when massive pharmaceutical companies risk losing billions of dollars to an herb, there's always going to be some politician willing to make an example out of someone.
There used to be a dispensary called Organica here, and as you can see behind me, the place just really only a shell right now.
They're basically federal agents are organizing raids, getting state agencies to participate, federal agencies trying to close down clinics any way they can, using these agencies against California's state law, even state agencies, trying to find violations in any way they can, desperately grasping at straws to basically stop the industry from being.
Attempting to twist the meaning of Proposition 215, the LA District Attorney was trying to close any dispensary that was, quote, profiting.
Dispensaries that make a sale over the counter are illegal. That's because many of them are for profit.
So who's profiting from this, or why are they?
I don't know. I don't think it's profit.
So who's
I think
doing it, or why is it
it's
happening?
control. They want to control the industry. It's more about control. It's
So
not,
who's all behind this?
who knows?
Who do you think is behind it?
Business, big business. Who else would be behind it? Capitalism at its finest.
During the past few months, a battle to reduce the amount of dispensaries had been escalating inside the Los Angeles City Council chamber. Now it seemed figures inside our local state government possessed the power to push marijuana sales back into the black market.
And we've got your little kiddies on Ritalin and Prozac. And we've got them filling out dossiers with the BATF on what type of firearms you own. Now that's what I call freedom. These face scanning cameras, police in black uniforms and ski masks. You take it from General Jack T. Ripper, your local head of Homeland Security. Giving up liberty always gives you tyranny. But when you hear me on the news, I'll say giving up liberty gives you security.
The Obama administration today announced a major policy change on marijuana. The Justice Department now says it will no longer enforce federal drug laws against people who use marijuana for medical reasons as long as they follow state laws.
First, the state said it was legal, but the feds kept raiding. Then Obama tells them to stand down, and then the state agencies start raiding using federal agents, and on and on and on.
Well, I guess for a lawyer, it's not bad news for you, right? I mean, looks like you're going to have plenty of work in the future.
Well, I'm going to have plenty of work in the future, but I get daily calls. Hey, Bill, what's going on? Am I going to have to close my shop down? And my answer is, I can't tell you.
Only 3 days after the Obama announcement, our very own Craig X was raided. And because of being on probation from his last raid, he spent 7 nights in jail. Now being forced to sleep amongst the ruins of what used to be the Beverly Hills Green Cross and Temple 420, and with his wife living in a hotel, Craig meets with us for one last time.
The real names were Saraweta and Mallard. They have a doctor's note. They come in and we give them some biblical counseling. Then we provide them with medical marijuana.
Ruben is in big trouble. He was already on probation after being convicted previously of marijuana possession for sale.
They pointed a gun at an 11-year-old kid in my wife's t-shirt shop that they did not have a search warrant to come into.
Similar to Bonnie DeMantis in San Diego, the Los Angeles DA, Steve Cooley, has now made it his mission to actively prosecute the medical marijuana industry.
They're frauds and they're corrupt, and they should be pursued by those in positions of law enforcement authority.
I personally believe Carmen Trutanich and Stephen Cooley are satanic and belong in jail. These guys don't listen to the will of the people, and they should see what it's like to go to their own jails that they're trying to send people to. This was a total setup.
And yet at the same time, that withdrawing of the federal threat has created a great deal of uncertainty at the local level, because local police officers and sheriff's departments are now moving to fill a void that was previously filled by the federal enforcement.
And case after case has come out in California and the other 13 states that have decriminalized marijuana, where the police are caught raiding dispensaries and taking, say, $100,000 in cash, but keeping $50,000 for themselves.
These guys are thieves. They're organized criminal thieves. And it's my belief that the narcotics division of the LAPD has stolen millions of dollars over the years, because all the people I know who keep getting arrested for drugs keep going, yeah, they don't report all the money they took them on. I had 10 grand. They said I only had 4 grand.
Do you smoke?
Yes, I do smoke.
When was the last time you did?
10 minutes ago.
In early December, after months of endless hearings, the entire country watches as members from both sides of the debate meet on the steps of City Hall for what could be the deciding fate of many LA-based dispensaries and the entire medical marijuana movement.
How is the spirit of collectivism evident when people just walk in and pay money across the table and get marijuana? What is a collective about that?
Well, first of all, they don't just walk in and get marijuana. They have to become a member of the collective before they.
What does that constitute, though? What does that amount to? Simply signing a piece of paper and then you're a member of the collective?
Well, a collective comes from the idea of a cooperative. I mean, it's both collectives and cooperatives. So if you look at any other cooperative throughout the state, for instance, REI is a cooperative. If you go to REI, you can go in and buy camping equipment. You don't have to actually assist in the production of that camping equipment in order to go.
What do you guys hope to achieve today?
We hope that the City Council does the right thing and rejects the advice of the City Attorney and allows for sales of medical marijuana through medical marijuana dispensaries as the legislature intended.
The thoughtful folks at the City of Los Angeles attempt to stop a wheelchair-bound person from medicating. How much more responsible can people attempt to be in regards to consuming a dry flower? Can you imagine if people had to pay $100 per year for a doctor's card in order to buy a 6-pack of beer?
I'm apparently doing the wrong thing.
Did he tell you to put out the joint?
Yeah, I'm just trying to medicate before I go in. I just didn't think it was
What did he say to you?
said it's the wrong time. I just was preparing to be in there for about 5 hours.
Did he say who he's with?
It doesn't really matter. When you're not welcome, you're not welcome.
With dispensaries popping up left and right, the Los Angeles City Council shocked the citizens with a harsh ruling.
After months of debate, the LA City Council finally lighting up an ordinance on medical marijuana. As John Schwader reports, restrictions are so tough, proponents claim they're being snuffed out.
On a 9-3 vote, the council barred medical marijuana dispensaries from operating within 1,000 feet of schools, churches, even residential areas. The council also voted to limit the number of clinics.
This was some rather dark news right before Christmas for some 800-plus dispensary owners.
It means that there will be as low as 70 and no more than 137 of them, versus the up to 1,000 that we saw. They were popping up like popcorn on every block.
And instead of having lots of little neighborhood dispensaries that lower prices for everybody, you're going to see prices explode. This is the monopoly capitalism that the New World Order brings.
Even though the Los Angeles ruling felt like a setback, there was no way of stopping the yearly harvest that was simultaneously flooding the market, a market that our government refuses to regulate. Ultimately, zoning laws and restrictions will never stop anyone from using an herb, but it will keep the distribution in the black market, obviously where the government and its corporate overlords want it to be.
The man on the corner, the one they was calling a drug dealer. But, you know.
So are all these dispensaries bad for your business?
Definitely. I'm not in favor of no dispensaries, or no collectives, or none of that shit. I want everybody to come to me. I got the better shit anyway.
If my children were out on the mean streets of LA, a marijuana dispensary would be the least of my worries. It reminded me of something that Brett Bogue's 19-year-old daughter had told me.
Well, I don't think that I got her smoking because I think she'll tell you honestly that she's tried it, but that I don't think. Well, tell me.
It's not something that I do. I mean, I've been around it my entire life. I lived with a boyfriend that did it, and for other reasons, and it's just not something I enjoy.
4:20 exactly.
Either way, it was time to go to the Smoke Fest, where our friend Mary Taylor from Austin, Texas, meets up with the real Freeway Ricky Ross, who had just been released from 15 years in federal prison.
Oh my God, look, this is the Ricky Ross.
Hey, what's
and
happening?
This is the first time that we're meeting in person. Yeah. Oh my God!
Featured in our last film, American Drug War, Ricky was known as the Walmart of crack, whose cocaine supplier ended up being our very own CIA.
You are at Smokeout. Yeah. Can you believe this? Can you believe this?
Selling it, but you think it's going to take a lot of money out of the hands of the gangs if they legalize it?
Well, you know, prohibition drives the price up on everything. So if you take the profit out of it, nobody wants to sell it.
Yeah.
For the record, Ricky does not partake in any drugs and is actually a vegan. But it's interesting to see his reaction to thousands of people smoking in clear view of law enforcement.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed since I went around, you know.
It's a new day.
It's a new day. Americans are waking up and they're taking off the chains. So there it is.
2009, Smoke Out 2009, LA.
It's been awesome. I think there's close to probably like 15, 20,000 people here. The thing really that it's cool is like think about all the people that are smoking and everything. Have you seen that? You're
It's out in the open, and then the cops that are walking by like can't.
They don't even care, do they?
That's awesome.
It's kind of nice to know that when the laws are changing the way that they are, and all the people, the activism, and everything that's going on, I don't think you'd ask for a better day.
I grew up in a world of alcohol. Fights were a regular part of any large social event or concert. It's ironic that here in the gang capital of the world, everyone seems so mellow.
Western governments deal all drugs. They traffic them. And this is pretty much true. This is the secret to the drug war.
Thank you so much for wearing that shirt today.
I love pot. I'm really kind of curious to know why in a big, wonderful marijuana smokeout expo like this place, and with marijuana now being legal in the state of California, why can't we have any product on our table? Why can't we give away any samples? Why can't we offer it to legitimate patients that are here? Pineapple Kush. Right here in front of God and everyone. I know, but don't tell anybody. There you go, bro.
With a lifetime of conditioning, it will always seem strange to smoke in front of anyone wearing a badge.
They're real nice.
That's one for us! This is my first hit of legal weed since I got my license.
Really?
Yeah, this is it. Here at the Smokeout. It's legal.
When major corporations stand to lose big money, and they will if marijuana gets legalized, it seems the endless legal debate is no longer about what people want, as it is an attempt of keeping marijuana on the fringe of society. But I challenge any of the pharmaceutical companies to come up with a pill that could keep this many potentially dangerous people totally peaceful and mellow, as does a single dried flower.
What do you think, Rick?
It's mad.
So you don't smoke pot, right?
No.
So
So it's kind of funny that you're.
No, I turn into the Tasmanian devil.
He
when I
doesn't.
smoke.
I do.
No. 80 panic attacks. Can't do it.
So it's
This
kind of
guy,
classic.
He smokes it all for me.
So you're the lead singer of the lead band of the Smoke Fest, the big smoke out, and you don't smoke
That's good
pot.
math. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So what do you guys think about the whole legalization of medical marijuana issue?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think will happen?
Booze sucks.
I don't
Why
know.
not?
It depends how many more states like start doing it, I guess.
As long as you can prove that you can make more money with weed than you can with Budweiser, you know, I think it'll happen. But till then, who knows?
This is criminal activity.
I never saw. I can never.
Not him. They're legal. Oh yeah.
Most critics would say that everyone is simply medicating for recreational use, and anyone being honest would have to agree. But I remember when my parents' drinking friends used to refer to alcohol as medicine.
I haven't been smoking, but I will be high.
Work it out. You saw that?
That was
real
crazy
professional
shit
shit.
That's
Well,
all
you
pro
not
shit.
to, you not to have a medical marijuana license. You sure know what you're doing.
That was dangerous. That wasn't even medical right there.
Ain't no shit, dude. I just got done playing like a 2-hour show. I broke my feet a year and a half ago. They were killing me, dude. Like, whatever now, right? Like it still hurt, but it's like just enough, like to take that edge off.
Everybody smoke. Like you wouldn't work today if you didn't smoke. Besides your one friend.
Will weed save the world? If you're asking me, I think it already is saving the world, and it will be the single most important thing that we can teach our youth is that this plant is not something to joke around about and to forget about, but it's something to really pass on to our next generation, because this plant can and will save the planet.
More patients are going to realize that they have a viable medication, and the rest of the states are going to slowly turn this way. The Wild West, where guns were originally trying to be got rid of, the Wild West, where they were originally trying to regulate, they're realizing they can't regulate us. We are the Wild West. We are the last of what you will call free America. We are the last of what you will call uninhibited America. And we're going to fight for that right, because we were taught all throughout history to fight for that right. We're Americans. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what I'm going to do.
At the start of the new year, a few lawmakers led by San Francisco assemblymen were working to pass Bill 390 to legalize marijuana for recreational use by taxing every ounce $50. It's interesting to think what would happen to the entire medical marijuana industry if people were allowed to buy it simply because they wanted to get high.
In 2010, we need to have a Declaration of Independence against the tyranny of cannabis prohibition. We need to stand up to the system and say, look, you dirty bankers, we know you're laundering the drug money. We know police are selling drugs on the side. We know this is all about you making something that's naturally occurring illegal so you can create artificial scarcity and jack up the prices. Stop it. We're done with the feds. We're done with the states. We're done with the system. We're done with all these criminal control freaks trying to run our lives.
As long as you don't spend your rent money on drugs, then you're okay. There you go.
Wow. And that slip knot.
That's slip knot for you.
Had the time of his life, a capitalist with a communist wife.
While the brave new graduates of Gecko University prepare to go out into the world, Brett passes along a small ceremonial toke as a lasting sign of the Cannabis Brotherhood.
We're gonna start passing them out. So, Kev, we'll just get these people just super high.
It's in the nature of political change that it happens most often, especially in democratic societies, through one incremental reform after another, and suddenly one makes a leap forward. It's hard to say when or why that happens. What happened in early 2009, where all of a sudden the issue of making marijuana legal became part of a national discussion because of the state budget deficits, because of the violence in Mexico and the money that the drug gangsters in Mexico are making from this, because we had a president who now not only admits to smoking marijuana, but when asked if he had inhaled, responds, wasn't that the point? And many times. I mean, there is a cultural change. And so I think we're going to move bit by bit towards ending the prohibition of marijuana. I think we're already moving in that direction. We're already moving in the direction of reducing the incarceration of people for simple drug use or drug possession. We're already moving in the direction of reducing the lengths of sentences and trying to rationalize some of the penalties for people who sell drugs. So I think we're beginning the rollback of the drug war.
Even if you don't use marijuana, like myself, you should be very active in demanding that its prohibition end. You'll cut off the money to the corrupt police and banks. You'll cut off the money to the corrupt Mexican government and their police and the drug cartels. And you'll restore freedom under the 10th Amendment to the states.
It's essentially, it's like an ocean liner, a great big oil vessel. You can point in a new direction, but it takes a long time to really change. I think we are getting pointed, we are pointing in a new direction, but ultimately it's up to us. It's up to us as the activists. We are the agents of change. We need to move the politicians. We need them to make them do what we believe is right and what many of them believe is right, but they don't feel they can do until public opinion is shifted.
And you'll allow an entirely new and incredibly profitable industry like vineyards of high-quality cannabis to be produced for the general public and for medical purposes. That is how weed won the West, and it can win back this entire country as we say no to marijuana prohibition.
With medical marijuana, the argument for legalization has always been made by showing the sickest people in the worst possible shape. Meanwhile, the critics of legalization always point to the larger percentage of people using it who are not on the brink of death. This is the story of the people who probably wouldn't die if you took their weed away. These are the people the government has spent billions warning you about. You have to hand it to our government, who was able to successfully outlaw flower for so many years. But it's over. History has already decided this one, and there ain't no turning back.
I got the storefront already, it's right here. We got kush, got haze. Only thing left to do is get paid. We already sell it like it's legal, so make it legal. Free the weed, yo. I don't smoke it, but I damn sure sell it. And when you buy from me, you can damn sure smell it. When you puff it, blow it in the air. We run the West and we winning over here. Why you think they call us inner city hustlers? Got niggas sleeping on corners in Philly City, cuz us. And my man bring it up like Pippin. Leprechaun slipping, move that Pippin. Right, run the white's another subject. Black male 6'2" height is a suspect. Nutty scar on, we run the West. You run your squad, but we run the rest. I supply everybody, even fans of left. Nutty on the track, the delivery of death.